All right, what up, everyone? Today we have Arnel from Warcat up in San Jose. You know, I've been following Warcat and Arnie's journey for quite some time now. They've been around since 2017, been crushing it, holding it down up there. And they've just had an incredible journey, one of which, you know, they just recently moved. They were potentially going to close, and then they found something that would work. And so I'm just really excited to capture their story today here with Arnie, and hopefully we can give you guys some lessons on the journey of gym ownership, the difficulties, the successes, the failures, and all that happens in between. So thanks for joining me today, Arnie.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Zach. I mean, I think this is a great thing that you're putting on here, and I'm honored that you invited me on.
Absolutely, dude. So yeah, let's start with how did you get into, we'll even go further. How did you get into powerlifting?
I think that I got into powerlifting because it was just the current conditions at the time when I was doing my personal training business. I had worked at a commercial gym for about a year before I decided to branch off and do my own thing. But because I had very little experience in just business ownership, even at that level, just one-on-one personal training at a different space, you know, I didn't really know the industry as a whole. You know, powerlifting, it wasn't really, I wouldn't even call it an industry. It's just a hobbyist sport.
Yeah. And what year was this?
And that was only 2016, 2017. Yeah. And, I thought I was powerlifting the years before that. I mean, again, it was a very hobbyist sport. And even before then, it wasn't really like super big in my area up in the San Jose, South Bay kind of area location. The place that I was training at did not have a ton of machines or didn't have a ton of equipment for, bodybuilding or any other type of training besides straight up just squat, bench, and deadlift. So when I was doing my own personal training out there, I thought, well, squat, bench, deadlift, that's kind of like powerlifting, right? If that's all that I'm doing. So that's what I was kind of getting my clients into, strength training, just straight up just weights and bars. And I didn't even really know what I was getting into. And I mean, if some of, the training styles, or how would I say, the personal training programs and things that I was doing out there was all catered around the stuff that I had access to. So, this warehouse kind of, I don't know.
Well, it's a warehouse vibe. Like powerlifting is it doesn't need a lot of, you don't need a bunch of machines. All you need is a barbell, you need plates. And then of course, if you have access to some machines and some bodybuilding equipment, that's great. But it's icing on the cake of the bare bones, the necessities of what you need.
Yeah, and so as time went on, I started to learn a little bit more about like powerlifting and how that training does go. And so, I started really liking it and really, and just thinking that, well, if this is all that I have, like I need to like really make the most out of it, And so I started sharing that with my clients, and for myself, as I got deeper into like learning about strength training or powerlifting, I thought, well, oh shit, well, apparently in this space, you're not really a powerlifter if you don't compete,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, oh shit, okay, well, maybe I should like sign up for a competition and like be about it, because like, we were just in our own little bubble here. Me and my thing at like about like 20, 25 clients at the time in this space, shared with other personal trainers who, they were at the time, CrossFit's really booming, and that's, so we have personal trainers that are doing CrossFit, functional fitness, things that are like really like making money here in the Bay Area.
Were you renting space from a gym at this point? So you started as a 24-hour fitness trainer and then went to rent space, or?
Yeah, like, so at this commercial gym, I was there for about a year, and, I just was not liking how, I felt like a whore, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, I was just like there for like 6-7 days a week, like 8 to 10 hours. It's like, oh, can you take this client? Can you take that client? And it's just like, all right, cool. I mean, I'm like 20, 21 years old. I'm like, all right, I want to be the best trainer, and I feel like I'm I'm really helping out. And then they're like, yeah, you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You.
It's churn and burn. I mean, like my general manager, Alex, at the gym, he came from the 24-hour commercial gym background. And like when you're a trainer, you're just at a commercial gym. I mean, they're just giving you as many people as possible. They're giving you pennies on the dollar. It's volume play. Let's get as many people in here as we can. And you probably felt like a slave to the game.
Yeah. And at the time when I was younger and not as experienced, I thought that I just need to take on as much as I can so that I can learn as much as I can. But I'm not going to complain about that experience, because I think the best thing that came out of that was that I learned how to talk to a lot of different people and how to communicate with a lot of different people. Because although I think that when I left that space after being a year in, I didn't have a lot of time to study personal training itself or like, get better at my craft in that sense, but in terms of making connections, building relationships and things like that, I think that was the most valuable thing that I learned. So when I carried that over to this warehouse space with the people that were like, yeah, let's move on. Let's see what we can do from here. We want to learn more. We want more of your time. We want, so I thought that, okay, cool. Let's do it. I don't know really what I'm doing, but you guys are supporting me. So let's go off, and I commit to learning every single day and trying to get better at, being a trainer. You guys are great. You guys are a great community right now, and let's keep pushing.
So you were at that point too. So in the warehouse space, you're paying rent and you're running your own business. I mean, you have your own clients. You bill them, or are you paid out?
What do you mean by a build out or pay?
Are you billing your clients directly, or do you get paid by the gym to coach?
Oh, no. So the landlord, he at the time had about 8 to 10 personal trainers who can come and go as they please. He owned this big warehouse. It was like multi-use. He was selling gym equipment. And so a part of that warehouse, that was originally a showroom. He was allowing the trainers to go and, use. Yeah, exactly.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
So when did you decide, all right, like, cool, I'm a trainer, the next step is gym?
Next step is gym is because just like with all spaces shared with a lot of people, there is bound to be conflict. Mm-hmm. And just like how I was very unhappy at the commercial gym that I was working at, the reason why I left is because I wanted to make my own rules and be able to grow as I needed. And it was the same reason when I was in this space, because although I enjoyed my time there and, got along with, most everyone, we all had to make certain compromises. And, because there was no rules in that space, there was 8 to 10 of us. And so if you have 8 to 10 trainers in a space where there's, kind of minimal equipment and not really a guide on this is how the gym should be ran, it was just kind of an open showcase room with equipment in it. So I was not like a huge fan of there not being some kind of structure or whatever. There was a lot of social kind of unspoken dynamics that I didn't like having to navigate,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, those old school gym vibes where it's like, I've been here longer, or I've been working out here longer, so this is my space, or like, hey, like, I'm bigger, or I'm this, or I'm that. So things that, are looked back on kind of like fondly, and that's how it was. But I didn't really enjoy that, and I wanted to have a lot more structure in how things were being ran.
Gotcha.
At least for my personal training. And so I started buying equipment from the landlord. And so, because I didn't want to have to fight for space, fight for equipment, I didn't want to have to be there 1 to 2 hours early in order to set up, space.
Yeah.
And because I was newer, I didn't feel as like, entitled to the space as everyone else, because everyone had their own spaces, their own spots. And I'm like, well, damn, I have my clients too, and I'm paying too. And, and as much as we'd all like to say, oh, we can all get along and be one big happy family. It's like, well, business is just, well, we got to find a way to make it work.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're having to play politics, and that just
exactly. Yeah. And structure is what was needed. And so I bought equipment, and I talked to the landlord and said that, hey, if I buy some equipment, can I keep it in this corner of the space? And I mean, the way that I saw it was that, like, if I could make some purchases that, would benefit his business, then maybe he would look to my business a little bit favorably, in the sense that, like, okay, yeah, if this guy wants to, like, start building a little spot, then I started getting this little corner of the gym, because I bought a rack and bought, like, my own weights and stuff. And so I was like, okay, cool, I have this space. But then I realized, man, I don't like sharing it with people who didn't buy the equipment.
So yeah, you bought equipment in the same space to then put it in a corner, and then other trainers are still using the stuff that you bought.
Yeah. And so, I mean, then I started realizing, man, yeah, okay, this isn't going to work, because this is a shared space, and I can't buy equipment and put it in a shared space.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the warehouse, there was like a partition. And so we were in the showcase area, and the equipment was in the other. And so as I started kind of working through this kind of process, I was thinking, okay, I want to get more equipment, but I want to be the one to use it, and my clients as well. And so I told our landlord, Joe, that, hey, the back area where all the storage is at, it's a mess. And that's what I noticed. And I thought, if I can clean up that part and kind of like organize it better, create space in the back, can I put this stuff over there, so that not only can you showcase these pieces that weren't on the showroom itself, but I can train back there, And then he was like, yeah, go for it. Go ahead. And what was cool about my landlord, he's open to most things, And so I fixed it up, set up the rack up back there, bought more weights, bought a couple more racks. And then so I had this little space behind the partition. And though there was like little passive aggressive, like, oh, he's like, oh, you got your own blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. Like, okay. Like, you don't want to be,
you're making the moves, man. I mean, it's like,
yeah. And so that's where it kind of like, stepping stones, and then, more people were getting interested into like what we were doing. And I had just done my first competition around that time, and fell in love with the sport. And not just that, but kind of created a passion in me to, like, share what we were doing back there with like strength training, powerlifting. And so the next move was like, man, what's the next step from here? I don't want to like be behind this wall forever.
Yeah.
So talked to the landlord about like, hey, what do you think about, well, I mean, actually before that, I was already scoping out different spots, and in San Jose, dude, oh my God, Brent, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So like at one point I was scoping out this little suite right next to a Starbucks, and I was like, dude, maybe this could work. I don't know.
Every retail space?
Yeah. Like I think it's like, what was that app called? Is it not Zillow? LoopNet. Yeah, LoopNet. Oh my God. I was there up like till like 3 a.m. writing in notebooks. Like, okay, if I was in this space, how could that work? If I was in that space, how could that work? And so it's like, the way that I saw it was, let me just see what's out there, and then let me create some game plans on like how it would work in like a warehouse space where there's like one bathroom, no AC, or like middle of downtown. And so we scoped out, when I say we, me and my, not wife at the time, but my wife, we were, just looking at different places. And then, what's it called? I finally asked Joe, I don't know why I didn't talk to our landlord first, because, he's been in the fitness game for a long time, and he's got a bunch of different properties. But I had asked him told him that, hey, Joe, I'm actually looking to move on from this space, and I've been looking at like different places to rent. And then he was like, what about this spot? And I was like, oh, I don't even know. I was like, oh shit, it's like here the whole time. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh shit, well, I didn't even know that was an option, you know? And he's just telling me, well, you never asked. And then I was just thinking like, man, that's crazy how, sometimes when we think that that something is not available, or something that's not like going to work out, it's, just by asking, you get your answer.
Dude,
I mean,
that's awesome, because I started like SoCal Powerlifting by subleasing space from another gym. So super similar situation where, I bought some equipment. I went to another gym, was like, yo, you guys aren't really using this warehouse this extra warehouse that you have. They had some equipment in there, but they weren't really utilizing it. I was like, let me come in. I'll pay you. I actually, in the beginning, paid them a revenue share, just so like you get 60% of whatever I make. So for them, it was like, there's some upside for me. There's no downside. So if I don't make money, they don't make money. And then ended up making money, ended up renegotiating into a lease, a sublease like a couple months later. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's like you never know until you ask. Yeah. And I love that like you bootstrapped it like this. I think a lot of people, they think like so one-dimensionally where they're not willing to like have these, like you had the idea of like, what about behind that partition? Like, let me buy some stuff, go over there. And then you're like, wait, let me clean up this space for you. And then can I use it if I clean it up? You're looking at ways that you can help this other guy while simultaneously helping yourself. And I think there's a lot of situations where people can be successful by not asking for handouts, but like, hey, what can I do for you that can also help me? And so I love this. That's freaking awesome. So you end up getting the unit, it sounds like, and that was the first rendition of Warcat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's epic. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is the, how expensive it is in the Bay Area and in San Jose. Obviously, like in Southern California, it is expensive too, but you guys, just because of the jobs out there, I mean, it's insane. My dad grew up in San Jose, so I've seen it change. I mean, my dad's mom bought her house for $25,000 in the 60s. And now, I mean, gosh, it's like, insane, right? And so just the growth in that area, it does make it hard for certain businesses, small businesses, to be able to afford to operate. What was that like? Did you get a good deal on your rent initially? I mean, talk me through a little bit on that.
It was, looking back, and I think that timing was great, because looking back, if that opportunity was presented to me today, I would have never taken it. Wow. Because I was very and when I say young, I don't mean like literally young, but I mean, youth in the game, just green to it, and just eyes wide open to like all the possibilities, just having done what I did. I watched lots of videos and listened to a lot of podcasts, did the whole $2,000 Tony Robbins experience in downtown San Jose, and I was like really motivated and really excited, and so I was like, I could do anything. I could do anything, And so when we had made the agreement, like, okay, cool, like let's turn this thing into a gym, put together your plans, and then in a few months' time we'll go over a lease agreement and stuff like that. And so during that time I was like, okay, just preparing and just getting like really like amped up and like putting together plans. And when we finally sat down and talked about the lease agreement, there was nothing that he would have put on that table that I wouldn't have signed at that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when I look back,
you were just all in. You're like,
I was all in.
My oyster.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like 22 years old, and looking back, when I look at the numbers, I was presented with when we ran it, we would not make $1 until $30K was made.
Wow. So do you mind me asking? I mean, so what was your initial lease that you signed into? Like, what was your rent?
So rent was about 18, I believe. Mm-hmm. It was about 18. Yeah. And then all the expenses afterwards was, it was just, it was astronomical. When I look at it now, like 30,000 to make $1,
That's I appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like that's a lesson, right? To a lot of the young, especially Gen Z, they want to get in the gym space. They're doing the TikTok, the influencer thing. And then the next step is open a gym. It's going to be sick. Just like we were talking about earlier. It's a business. And, I was so lucky that I did like a revenue share, and then I was able to, I kind of did this building, like my second lease was $5K. I think we pay about 10 now. And like, we're looking to go into something about like 20 now. But it's like, it's so much easier if you can start small. Maybe if you started with an 8K lease, like that could have been great for you to make some money, to put away some profits, and then grow from there. It's so hard to, unless you're backed by a bunch of money or VCs or something crazy, it's really hard to start, with high operating costs and have to like grind to make $1. But you believed in yourself, We all do.
Yeah.
And so how did you make that work?
So moving into it, me and I guess she was my girlfriend at the time. We just had a bunch of savings. We were both in, and we're like, okay, if this is gonna work, we need to I was like, I would make it work. I would make it work. And even though I feel like I instilled a lot of confidence in my partner and and my team, at a lot of the times I was like, holy shit, like how is this going? That's $30,000. Like, and I think that the ignorance that I had at the time, like I said, it was good. It was great timing. I didn't know what 30,000 was. I just thought, oh, it's just a number. It was just a number. I would just work backwards from that.
Yeah.
You know, what ways can I work towards that? And I made myself a goal, like, okay, within the year, I want to clear that. Yeah. You know, and thankfully we had savings and things to fall back on in order to cover the money that we weren't going to be able to make outright.
Yeah.
You know,
the difference.
And so for the first year, we were always under every single month. So we had to cover that with a lot of our own personal savings and things that we had, you know, prepared for, because going into it, we weren't like totally like, oh yeah, let's just, you know, blast a bunch of money and just whatever.
Of course.
But yeah, after the first year, we really got into our groove, because we quickly realized from the get-go that powerlifting was not going to make us $30,000.
Yeah. Powerlifting, like in the open gym format where people pay to just show up and train, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and if there's anybody listening to this right now and you think that a powerlifting gym in the Bay Area, let me be specific, in the Bay Area or just California in general, if you think that the open gym powerlifting scene is just really, really booming, it's not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
That's the thing. Like, especially like places that are expensive, Bay Area, SoCal, maybe parts of the East Coast, like these sort of, you know, urbanized metropolitan areas, like, you can't just, if you build it, like they don't just necessarily show up. And if it's just open gym, they come and it's just pay to use your space. It's turnover heavy, especially if, I don't know how much of your member base was like students, but like we get a lot of students and stuff in our open gym here because we have UCI. They go home for the summer. And so there's just so much volatility that you sort of don't plan for when you're younger, naive, like starting going into, you're like, oh, sick, I'm getting members. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. Powerlifting business is hard. You have to find other ways to make money. So what did you guys look towards? You look towards more training based streams?
Oh my God. And whenever I talk to people about like what everything we try to do, like it was like we try to host a lot of different classes. We did a lot of group classes. We wanted to be based around strength training. And that was something that was like, we're not turning into CrossFit. We're not going to turn into this or not turn into that, but we still needed to keep the lights on. We needed, or at least work towards like, you know, making that 30K every month, you know? And so we put out different classes, different functional classes, different like strength training classes, beginner classes for powerlifting, like all the different types of classes you can think of. And, you know, I thought that, man, I'm willing to do just about anything to like, you know, get people in here or whatever. We had a yoga class.
Wow.
We had a yoga class, and which I could not believe, like, you know, today that if we were to host a yoga class, it just wouldn't, I was like, wow. I remember walking into the gym and it was like dead quiet, no music playing. And I was like, what's going on? I opened the door. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, we had a yoga class. Hey guys. But, and then after, towards the end of the year, we were picking up a little bit of traction, and, you know, our first few like legit powerlifters at the time started training there. And then I thought, okay, sweet. Okay, let's keep this going. How can we attract more of you guys? So I started to talk with them. And the thing is, the way that I saw it was that if I can get into the head of, like, you know, the people that are willing to come and train here and pay whatever we were, you know, asking for, I wanted to know how we can improve upon that and make the experience even better. Like, how can I get more powerlifters to train at our spot without kind of disrupting the already established hierarchy of powerlifting gyms in my area? You know, because we had Boss Barbell,
Yeah.
down up in the mountain view, and I just thought like, man, I don't want to like, how can we compete with that? Like, and how can we like, whatever? Why would somebody want to train over here with Arnie, who's done one powerlifting meet, and Dan Green's just down the street.
Yeah.
It's like, so as a powerlifter, it's like, okay, what can we do to be different from that? Because I didn't want to try to directly compete with something that like, that is Dan's a living legend, great guy. And it's like, well, I didn't think that I was like straight up nothing, but I thought that I could bring something different to the space that maybe Boss Barbell wasn't, or these other gyms were not. And so I started looking at what the people that were coming to train here, why were they training here? And, what were people getting from those other gyms?
See, I like that you went there because, and I tell this to gym owners all the time, it's like, first of all, just business as a whole, a business is a solution to a problem. So we're solving a customer's problem and they're choosing us because we're the solution.
Absolutely.
And so the best way to know how to improve your business or how to grow is to like ask your customer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, but we don't do it enough because we're always in our head thinking, well, what do we think we need? No, it's like, what do they need? What do they want? Who are your top 5 customers? And like ask them what they want to see more of.
Yeah.
You're going to get more customers that way. So I love that
100%.
that's where your head went. And I'm sure hindsight, like I think about when we think about competitors, hindsight, you're probably like, you probably thought a little too much about them. Like, cause like there's so much business to go around for everyone that like we got to do it our way. We got to do our thing. But yeah, it comes down to like what's missing in this market and how can we provide a different experience that isn't being cultivated anywhere else. So I love that.
Exactly. Because they were putting out a product that people loved. And I thought that, okay, if I can put out a product or a service that, serve the same people, but just a different flavor of powerlifting or a different kind of like space for it, who were these people? Like, hey, why do you come in and work out here? Like, what's so great about this place? And so that kind of blossomed and started growing into like, oh, we love this place because it's such a social, like, outlet for a lot of people. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like people felt like they could be themselves. They can like, they didn't have to like hide behind a facade of like, okay, I'm a powerlifter, so I got to be tough, or I got to be like in my own little corner at the commercial gym, or I got to whatever. It's like, okay, well, these people around here, it's like, okay, we don't need to like, I don't like using the word gym intimidate because it's such I don't know, it runs with Planet Fitness, but they're like, oh, we don't need to be intimidated by each other. We can like go and lift weights and not feel like we're being judged like this or that. I'm like, yeah, come on, come in. And so I started capitalizing more on that. And like, I wanted to be on the floor a lot more to make sure that people were having a great social experience when they were coming in. So I was making sure that I knew everybody's name, that I was connecting people. And it's like, oh, hey, David, you met John? Dude, John like loves this, whatever. And just making sure that everybody was, and because it's like, if that was what people were coming in for, I wanted to make sure that everybody who came in, that was what they were buying, that social experience along with, exactly. And so, and it wasn't like something that was totally fruitful, because I would say that if there's anyone listening to this, that the amount of people that are in the gym or the people that are visiting the gym, like just looking at the space, everybody loves seeing crowd gym as a gym owner, not as a customer. Yeah. But when I look at a crowded gym, I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
It can create a false sense of like, I'm stable when on there's certain days, especially like on a Saturday when people come through and it's like really booming, and then it gives us a false sense of like, okay, I can like relax because, I'm doing all right.
It's tough. Yeah. I guess like with gyms, we have days and times where we're packed and bodied, and like there's days and times where it's empty. A gym's probably gonna be empty around 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. rolls around, or Saturday at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. rolls around, it's gonna be bodied, and like that's just gym business, and our goal is to fill it. But yeah, it's like you can't judge success on pure bodies in the space. Like you got to judge success by your books, your QuickBooks, and your finances as well. So 30K is not easy. Like a lot of gyms never make it to 30K in revenue. Did you guys get to a point where you were profitable at some point? Like, was that able to be accomplished?
Absolutely. We hit the goal of clearing that within our first year.
Wow.
And I think that we just gained a lot of momentum in the kind of like we finally understood what the product or service was. We had an understanding of like, okay, shit, our what we're selling is a experience.
Yes.
It's not we're not selling the gym. Like we had to keep on like drilling that. Like we there's only so much we can offer in this warehouse, you know. And so we had to really work on the experience that people were having. Me and my team, every week, almost every day, we were talking about ways that to connect with the people that were coming in, making sure that because they had a good experience, they were referring people. And that was kind of our biggest kind of like momentum builder, was that word of mouth, that people were like, oh, like telling their friends, their family, whoever, because all the other marketing stuff that we tried to do just wasn't working.
Dude, I love that. You're selling an experience. I marked that as a highlight because, man, that's so powerful. One of the things, like my mentor, Max Ada, from Oakland, he told me in the beginning, he told me the gym is an expense for the coaching. And so like my mantra was, I'm not selling a gym, I'm selling coaching, like was my thing. And I feel like that was always so powerful because anyone can sell a gym. Anyone can open a gym and buy fancy stuff. Cool. But what makes you different? What makes you special? And for you guys, it was the experience. I think that's so cool that you're able to sort of isolate that variable and then really use that as the mantra with your marketing and using referral-based marketing to grow. I mean, that's amazing. So you were able to grow. And I feel like the last couple of years, you guys, I mean, have crushed it on social media. The energy was always crazy. The one time I was there, I think I was there a couple times, but the energy was insane. And you were doing amazing meets and stuff. Take me through the last couple of years. I mean, what was that journey like as you were trying to grow this thing?
The past couple of years. So if I didn't say it before, with the lease agreement was 5 years.
Okay.
Right. And so every year or before the start of each new year, I would sit with my team and go over like the plans that I had for the upcoming year. But what were the meets that we had planned, whatever goals that we had, and not just, my goals, but the goals of my team, like, because for some insight, I don't recommend this to a lot of people that are starting out. Like, don't. And that's why it's great to have done this at the time that we did it, because I opened up the gym with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and my best friends, And so the six of us, and the six of them and I, we were willing to do whatever it took. Mm-hmm. And so the pro there is that because we were close, it didn't matter if we needed to stay late, come in early, we were willing to do whatever. They weren't just employees, we weren't just whatever, we were literally like, we were all in on this. But by the time we got into year 3, 4, especially around COVID time, oh man, like we were booming right before COVID, and the reason why we were booming was because of personal training. A lot of us, we were doing a lot of PT. We had a really good kind of like flow of that, and we had a really good system of, personal training. We had just done our first meet at our space. The word was getting out, and we were thriving, we were booming. We felt like we were on our way. And then COVID hit, and it was like, oh shit, everything kind of like, everything got reevaluated. Obviously for me and my wife, we were like, well, I mean, we're doing the gym. We can't just leave. Yeah. But it definitely changed how my team wanted to move forward. Cause I mean, everybody wants to like, pursue their own things or whatever. And, it was a great team. It was a great team, but I did not feel comfortable in like dragging them through, like supporting mine, if that makes any sense, So that was
it was your dream. It was your baby.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you almost saw it like it wasn't their responsibility to cradle your baby for you through this
Exactly.
tumultuous time. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like about maybe 2.5 years ago, or whenever COVID was like really hitting and things were slowing down, we kept everybody on in order to keep people paid, and found ways to like make that work through that time. But I knew, and I had a gut feeling that like, everyone's passion for like moving the gym forward was crushed, decimated, just because of like how uncertain things were. And so I could see that, I could feel it. And so I was already thinking, I got to let these guys go. Or I got to at least open up that conversation of like, hey, what do you guys want to do?
Yeah, you don't want to string them along.
Exactly. And because I knew that I could keep things going, but because we already had our legs, but I didn't want them to feel obligated. So, there was a few guys that were like, I think I want to pursue this. I want to pursue that. And because they were like my best friends, and I was like, yeah, dude, fuck yeah. Like, go for it. Be a firefighter, be a this, be a that, And so I think it was great because it had been such a really tough, like a startup, and COVID was tough, and, everybody was kind of breathing a sigh of relief when it's like, okay, cool, I can let the gym go. But for me, obviously I can't let it go.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, oh shit. And this was towards like year 4. So a little over a year ago, I was thinking, oh shit, I let my team go and I started bringing on some new guys. But because, it, not necessarily because it was a new team, but because the gym and the experience that we were selling was now changed so much, especially because if we were selling a social experience and COVID destroyed the social experience, you can't even go to like, like restaurants or anything without being masked up or whatever. Yeah. It was like, fuck, dude, our meets got hit, our social events got hit. So it's like, God damn, like our whole like shtick, our whole like whatever, how do we like, and it was really tough to bring on new people and to kind of push for the same type of experience. And though they did a good job, I was just like, man, in order to keep up this social game, I had to put in a lot of time and a lot of energy into it. And, because everybody's like life kind of positions change over time, obviously, like I had a baby on the way.
Yeah.
And so because I was having to put out so much of my time to create this social experience or to keep it going or to to teach it to like my staff and, putting on these big meets, me and my wife, we agreed that like, okay, after our 5-year, I think we need to reevaluate. And so I was like, yeah, because the gym was great. It was awesome. But I think that the brand can be transformed into something else, maybe moving into an online format,
So how far out were you guys sort of having that thought? Like, was that COVID? You're like, shoot, okay, we're 3 years in. This doesn't look good for us. Like, were you already thinking about the next step then?
During COVID and even post-COVID, I wasn't really thinking about that type of stuff because I just thought, it's we got through it. And I thought that was great, and I thought that like, oh man, if we could get through that, we could get through fucking anything.
Yeah, of course.
But because, the realization of my team changing and that it wasn't necessarily the people that was like going to be like an issue or a struggle or whatever. It was just that the core players that have been there from the start, who know like the brand at the core, and know like what we are trying to deliver. Yeah. And I just thought that because, I was going to have a child, I wanted to devote more of my time to my daughter than to have to train up a fresh roster of people to kind of continue on, because we were already towards the end of the lease, and I'm thinking, man, if we continue for another 5 or another 10, the confidence that I had when we first started up was because all 6, 7 of us were all in. But realistically, the new team that I had on, they were just, really excited, young people who just wanted to be part of the brand, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But because, you know, to me, there was no guarantees that this new team was going to be all in.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to take that chance for another
100%.
5 years.
Yeah, especially if it's like, because it sounds like things were like, you guys were killing, like hitting your stride, things were good, and then things probably got to the point where you had to sort of work backwards and build it back up again. Mm-hmm. And then the thought process is like, I'm putting in all this energy and effort for what? Right? Like
that's scary, because I've literally said that. I'm like, okay, all of that for what?
Yeah,
you know?
For what? Like, what do I have to show for this? And I mean, I tell entrepreneurs all the time, I tell people all the time, like, I think that your 20s are for like getting as many at bats as possible, trying as many things as you can, because you can afford to fail. Once you bring family into the picture, more responsibilities, you have to sort of have that gut check, that realization of, okay, like, is what I'm doing working, or do I need to be real with myself and say, hey, maybe I got to pivot and move on to the next thing. And I think that takes more guts. You know, moving on to the next thing takes more guts than staying in it and trying to white knuckle your way to success. I mean, it's tough. I'm sure it was a hard decision. So obviously you guys got to the point where, I mean, you were going to close.
I mean, the tipping point was that, you know, even though I was already having my doubts towards the end of the lease, I was thinking, you know, okay, if I was to make this work and continue on after this lease ends, you know, for another 5 with a brand new team, what would that look like? How much do I, and at that point I was like thinking my goals are going to be a little bit different if I was to go another 5 years, because I'm going to have a daughter on the way. So, you know, I need to make more money.
Yeah.
I want to make more money, you know, I'm not 22 anymore. Just getting by, and you know, for at the time was okay for me and my wife. You know, we're all our bills are paid. We're enjoying ourselves. But you know, with my daughter, I want her to have everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, how much is that? Okay, if it's X amount, how do I make that? And so I start crunching the numbers, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if it's going to have to look like this, then what can I do? And because at this point in Warcat's journey, we're no longer doing group classes, personal training classes. We have too many powerlifters in the space that the gym has transformed to the point where, you know, we got rid of a lot of equipment that wasn't serving the powerlifting community anymore. You know, we got rid of our monkey rig. We got rid of, at one point we had like 10 assault bikes, and we're down to like 2. You know, we're selling stuff, buying combo racks, and, you know, it was seriously like just an open gym for powerlifting, and we were just doing like, you know, personal training on the side. And so I'm thinking, holy shit, okay, well, we can't really revamp our personal training program because it's going to be a lot like tougher, because all of the equipment that was available to us before is no longer available. And at one point we had about like 10 to 15 personal trainers with like, you know, 7-8 of them paying rent, and everyone else like, you know, bringing in, you know, a lot more clients. And I'm thinking most of the space is taken up by powerlifters right now. And I'm not saying powerlifting was the problem. I'm just saying that the current state of the gym was no longer going to serve what we were going to, you know.
There's a lesson there. So spot on. Like, it's so hard. Like, I feel like, I hope you agree with this. I feel like if someone saw your gym before, like with all the personal trainers and stuff, and then they saw it like on a Saturday when all the powerlifters are in it, they would just assume that the latter is like, oh my God, you're crushing it, you're killing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And versus when you had more trainers and more training, like, that pays the bills. I mean, it's
exactly
boring work. Like, the stuff that isn't flashy, like that, I say clap don't pay bills. Like, it's the same thing. All that hype and stuff. It's so hard because, yeah, on paper or visually it looks amazing and things are good, but it's not that open gym format where like it's a pop-in gym. It's like it doesn't work.
Exactly.
And as an owner, like, I feel like sometimes people think I'm washed because I'm always like, guys, we have restricted hours for open gym. Like we have certain rules in place that probably keep it from being that hype, that cool looking thing visually, because I know that it takes away, if there's too many bodies in there, it takes away from the coaching. It takes away from certain things. And so that's got to be so hard for you to realize, shoot, it's turned into this animal that I can't cage.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Oh,
1000%. That was where it's like, I step onto the gym floor. I'm thinking, okay, what can I do with this? Fuck, dude. We have a lot of, and I just, don't get me wrong. Anyone listening to this, like, the powerlifting community is fantastic, but it is not, it is the worst business model for an open gym here in the Bay Area, because like the places that are successful, like CrossFit gyms, martial arts gyms, there's specific times you can put a lot of people in there, and that at the end of the hour, there's a fresh set of people coming in. The powerlifting is the exact opposite.
3 hours, that's day, 4 hours, 6 hours, bring the beach chair. We're eating gummy bears.
you got 8 people taking up the space of 20 people.
Yeah.
There for multiple hours at a time. And though it's a great, like, it's fun, it's great, as if you're trying to make money, it's not gonna work out. And so when I was looking at the gym floor, I'm thinking, okay, I know what I have to do, right? These are my options. I can either scale back on powerlifting, because at the time we had, like, most of our racks were taking up our spaces. We had a lot of deadlift platforms, and I'm thinking, okay, we can get rid of these things and we can put in machines, we can put in this or we can put in that, make it a better space for personal training. We can put a turf area in the back, we can get this, blah, 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 whatever. Or we can double down on powerlifting and see, like, what else can we, like, possibly
out of this.
Exactly, right? And so because we were kind of like on a upwards trajectory with the meets that we were running, and I was thinking, okay, well, we're doing really well. What else can we do? Okay, I guess we can try to get a little bit more competitive with powerlifting in our space, before we just scale back to, personal training. Because I feel that I know personal training. I know what I would need to do here, but before I do that, because we have a big community, what can we do to kind of like squeeze that? But the issue,
you also don't want to piss off your powerlifters now. Like,
exactly,
these guys, like, shoot, like, I don't want to sacrifice these guys and, like, get rid of a combo to throw in, a multi-purpose cable machine, and then be like, dude, what the heck? Like, I liked that rack, and then they leave, and then you lose, $400 to make $200 over here. I mean, you were put in an impossible situation. I mean, you were caught in a hard place for sure.
Yeah, because so I was thinking, okay, how do we get more competitive in powerlifting here? Okay, we can when we put on meets, we can charge a little bit more, but meets were not something that was happening super often. It was 3 times a year. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's not definitely a constant, like, stream of revenue.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, all right, well, we can put out apparel. We can put out, we can raise our prices. We can upgrade our equipment. We can put out more events. But because I didn't have the staff with the same skill sets that my old team had, it was a lot harder to split time there and to support my wife with our newborn baby. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, God damn, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's just push. How about we push Warcat as the brand, the powerlifting brand in the Bay Area, if not California. We need to think even bigger, okay? Because if I want to make this much money, we need to get as much of the competition here or as much of the market here in the Bay Area. But what I soon realized is that when I start marketing a lot harder for, Warcat was the brand, or was the, like, and I started kind of changing how our social media was being put out, it was not being received as favorably from our community, in the sense that, powerlifting as a whole is not like, bodybuilding or the NFL or whatever it is, where it's like, it's so large and people are paying top dollar for, you know, this or that. Powerlifting is like, well, we're a community. We're, you know, we're just here to train. We're here to
It's
whatever.
this weird,
it's like,
yeah, it's like this sort of weird thing. Like the other day we had some drop-ins where like one of the people, they were like, it should be free for out-of-towners to train. Like, and they told one of my staff members, and my staff member was like, no, it's, you know, day passes are like $30. They're expensive. And it's like in any other situation, like the out-of-towner always pays more. The tourist always pays more to like partake in an experience. Like that's just how it is, you know?
Yeah.
And like even the drop-ins, I mean, it takes away from the members' experience because the members like, wait, I come here every day and now we would used to have too many drop-ins on Saturdays. I had to like limit drop-in hours. So I'm like, I'm losing potential dollars as the owner to like appease my members because they're more important people that I'm serving.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Like in powerlifting, it's this like, almost making a business out of it. People look at you weird. They think that you should just do something because for the love of the game, because you appreciate it, and you know, and no other sport is that the case whatsoever. And in fact, like I'm big into capitalism. Like I think that when something is a business and it is profitable, it can be bigger and it can be better. And the reason why the NFL is so amazing is because so many people make money partaking in it.
Yeah.
And so the only way powerlifting will grow is if it is a business and people can make money from it to then make it better and want to invest big dollars into it.
Exactly.
So I totally hear you because I've gotten shit for, you know, charging too much for this or that when I'm just trying to grow this thing, man. Like that's it.
Yeah.
It's a business.
100%. So like, and I tell this to people all the time that social media and, you know, helps to promote the sense of like, it's only a community, you know, but it's like, you kind of leave out like the people that need to run the whole thing, the people that put on your events, the people that put on your meets, that host your gyms, like that costs money. It costs a lot of money. And so it's fine if, I pay my fees, I pay my dues, you know, that should be enough or whatever. But it's like, well, because the way that I saw it was that if we put out marketing or social media that made us more competitive amongst other gyms in our area, because the way that I saw it and the words that I was spreading out to people was that why, and to me, I just wanted to get people thinking about the product that we were putting out and the product that everyone else was. Mm-hmm. And so it was looked on more of like, instead of like, yeah, you know what, he's right. You know, why are we paying different pricing or why are we paying the same prices for different products? Mm-hmm. You know, that's what I thought I was communicating. Maybe I was doing it in the wrong way, but I was looked at more of like, oh, he's talking a lot of shit, mm-hmm. You know, because to me, I was thinking for meets, I do X, Y, and Z and then some, you know, I do all of this planning. I do all of this, you know, preparation, making sure that these things are set and I'm charging this much. Mm-hmm. But because I'm charging this much, it's not a standard rate that everyone else should pay. Yeah. You know, if you're putting out the same product or the same service, then, by all means, go for 100%. It, you know?
Like like with meats, right? If you're going to put money into a meat and make this cool production and put money into the metals and all the best lifter stuff, like you're going to charge more. If it's a gym membership, like my thought process is I don't want to be the budget option. You know, people get mad at us for charging a certain amount for memberships or for drop-ins or like more expensive. But I'm like, I have to make it expensive so it's more competitive. Yeah. If it was cheaper, there'd be more people here and we don't have enough space. So it has to be exclusive. And it's the same thing with like Jordans. Like not everyone gets the pair of Jordans. Like you got to throw yourself in the lottery and you might get them. And not to say, I wish we, want to get to that level one day. But I mean, it's this weird, price is tough. And so it sounds like then you weren't really communicating, or it was hard for you to land like the proper communication that you wanted to communicate out with some of your market then.
Yes, I would say I was unsuccessful in promoting those or that message. Yeah. In that, if there are gym owners and it's just like with anything, right? If a coach is a lot friendlier, a lot nicer, or whatever, but they're not putting out the same type of like program that you are working so meticulously on, because this guy says nice words or is like, you know, a lot more popular, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'll pay him the same amount of money because, you know, and so, you know, that was something that I had to kind of like, that was a big pill to swallow because I thought that, you know, I was putting out all of this work and energy, and then I have, you know, other brands around here or other gyms that were popping up or trying to do the same thing, charging the same amount, and the production being, you know, not as much, you know?
Yeah. So take me through the decision you were going to close, but then an opportunity comes about. Like so talk me through a little bit about that.
So after I had decided that, you know, preserving the legacy of the brand was more important to me and those relationships, you know, and from a business perspective, you know, not a great kind of like mindset. And so for me, because things were getting very negative in terms of how we were being viewed as a brand, I was thinking, I don't like this, you know, because if I continue on this way, it's going to hurt our brand. You know, it was what I was trying to promote in terms of competitiveness or that our quote, quote, eliteness of the brand. I was like, this is not it. You know, I want to, if we were to end at our 5-year lease, I want to make sure that we go out in a good way and, you know, and the right way.
Yeah.
And so that's why we came up with PowerFest, you know, and put together, to bring together all these different brands, especially here in California, because it's like, you know, I want us to be remembered as this, not that we were trying to, you know, burn bridges or anything like that, because that was never my intention. You know, I think that powerlifting is great as a whole, and everybody that's trying to get into this space, I wish them the best of luck. But it was just a great lesson in that right at that moment, trying to get super competitive. That industry, this industry in powerlifting is not ready for that yet. There's not enough money, you know? And so that was when I realized, okay, well, at the end of PowerFest, at the end of our 5 year, it's like, okay, if I wanted to make money off of powerlifting, it's not going to work. And if I was to scale back to personal training, is that something that I wanted to do, you know? And so the more I thought about it, I was like, as much as I know that, you know, I know that space, I know exactly what I would need to do. I was like, I think I want to spend more time at home, you know, on my days off, because I knew that if I was to continue on, and you know this, you know, this is all other entrepreneurs, is that you're not really off the clock.
You never clock out.
You're never clocked out, you know. And for me, I just wanted to go home and not have to think about work, you know, because every time I was at home, I was thinking of what's my next move, you know, and I just couldn't quiet it down.
Sucks. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, you never clock in per se. Like if you're done like trading hours, you know, hour for hour doing training and you're just running your business, like you don't clock in per se, but you don't clock out. You're always thinking about it. You have dreams about it. It's always in your mind. You're getting texts when you're out with friends and family and you're having to handle stuff, and it's part of it. And I think that, you know, you were entering probably a phase in life with a young child and stuff where you're like, I want to be present.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to be on my phone all the time. I don't want to be on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, I only want to go on Instagram to keep up with the sport and like my friends, but I don't want to feel like whatever I comment, post, or whatever is going to be magnified, or what is he saying by that? What does he mean? What is this? What is that? And I don't want to have to think about that either.
So how far out before you're going to close did you figure it's Punch King, right? Is what the area it's called. So how far out did you realize that was an opportunity?
About a month.
And talk me through talk me through a little bit about that. So you're going to close. You're literally about to shut down the gym. You're like, it's done. It's over. Yeah. I mean, I saw the Instagram post. Everyone was super sad. And then you're like, never mind.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people thought that it was like a planned thing. Yeah, exactly. But even before PowerFest, like a year ago, I was already thinking like, okay, we're probably going to close. I think this is what we're going to do. And, you know, I had already in our last like 10 months, I was already at a new job, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so I was already like, I already had made plans. My exit plan was already like in motion. I wanted to get into law enforcement, so I did the whole academy thing. I was away from the gym for a little while, and it was just doing its thing. But I just thought, like, I just want it to, like, slowly kind of, like, not exit quietly into the night, but I wanted
the last sunset, like you wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
The right tempo.
After Powerfest, I wanted the momentum to kind of like chill out a little bit, and everyone to just enjoy the space as it was and not have any big plans or whatever. And so a month out from when our lease was supposed to be, or a couple months, I made the announcement that, okay, we're going to close down, and at this point I was just working, going back home, checking up on the gym, whatever, blah, 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 from behind the scenes. And Jessica, my wife, was the one that was kind of holding it down and kind of keeping me updated on what was going on. And we were on vacation in Yosemite at the time, and then there was lots of offers. There was a lot of offers that people were putting out, because when we put the announcement out, there was a lot of people who were like, can we buy it? Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we whatever? And because I believe in every move that I make needs to have some kind of, like, I don't know, purpose behind it, or like I'm not going to do something without a goal in mind.
Yeah.
At this point, and I made it clear to Jess that, I would only be okay with selling the equipment, but not the brand, because I had plans with the brand. I was like, I wanted to get into the online space, whether it was like continuing on coaching because I love to do that, or whatever it might be, and I would not be comfortable in selling the brand as a whole, and so we'd get a lot of different offers, and we were close to at one point we were going to just leave the gym as it was, and somebody wanted to come and take over, just put a new name on it or whatever, but those plans fell
do you mind me asking, I mean, were people shooting numbers at you? At that stage, or?
We were close. But before we can actually talk numbers, those plans that those guys that were interested, they fell through. So it was nothing that we were really like we need to sell this type of stuff, because the way that I saw it was like, okay, we're going to put everything in storage and we'll just slowly sell everything off. Or if, something came along, then, we'd sell everything outright, whatever. Yeah. However, about a month out, Jess was she had been telling me about this offer, but I did not entertain it because I was like, dude, this sounds so fucking stupid.
Really?
Because she would send, because I work night shift, she would send me like updates through Google Drive, and so I would just read it, and on one of the notes on the current offers, I was reading whatever, and it's like, an investor wants to come in and take over the brand as is, has no experience in the powerlifting community or powerlifting in general, is not even in the fitness space. He's just an investor and wants to take over the brand and keep it going. And I'm thinking, why the fuck would somebody want this? Because if you want this, if you want our members, you want our whatever, like, dude, you have to know how to serve them. If you have no idea, if you're not even in the fitness space, like, how are you going to make, like why?
And what's in it for you? I mean, it's not like it was this big, like, money machine. I mean, it was
exactly. It was exactly. Oh, 100%. I'm thinking, why would you want this? And so I didn't really think about it too much. And then we went on vacation in Yosemite, and then she started talking about it a little bit more, and I was like, all right, fine, let's go to the meeting, because she gave me more information, because she said that, well, he wants us to pick up and move to his facility, because he's building he has this multi-use facility, a large space, and he's putting different gyms in there. And I'm thinking, all right, I mean, it sounds interesting, and it's my day off. So, let's go check it out. And so we go to the meeting. I'm like half awake, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this place is kind of nice, you know? And so we walk around the facility. He tours me around. And so Punch King is a brand of one of the companies that this guy owns, but they've got their own floor. It's kind of like, how, what's it called? Orange Theory is kind of like that kind of like, I don't know what the right word for it is, but they commercialized kickboxing classes, Punch King. Yeah. That's what they did. Yeah. Gotcha. And then there was another gym in there called Elite Pro where they specialize in group training classes. And they already had it. They had another location elsewhere in San Jose. And so they specialize in the boot camp type stuff, And so these two gyms were in this facility, this shared space, and they had a couple a few more floors that were empty and ready for new kind of gyms or brands to move into. And so, you know, at this point, I'd already been not removed from the gym, but just kind of like I haven't been in the space thinking about, you know, possibilities. You know,
you're not in grow mode. You're sort of in
weird
almost like slow bleed.
And I kind of had already made my peace. You know, I was already kind of like, you know, everything I was okay with, and you know, we were already going out the right way. There was all loose ends had been tied up. You know, and at this point, I'm thinking it was like instant. I was like 22 again, looking through like
oh my god, the possibilities. This is
like
insane.
Like oh my god. This is cool. Like, we could do a lot of stuff in here. But he showed me the basement area. And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. It could work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing about, like, people who are, like, I don't know, entrepreneurs, or they're really, you know, opportunists, or whatever you want to call it. It's like, if there's an opening, like, to some people, it's like, you know, it's whatever. But to me, I'm like, okay, how could it work though? Like,
we're always like creative. I mean, we're always looking at things and being like, oh my gosh, like there's possibility there. Yeah, a lot of people would be. It's like another man's trash is another man's treasure. You know? Like, oh wait, of the basement, but look, like this could work.
Exactly, like it could. It looks like shit right now, but it could. So, you know,
and you guys did it. I mean, you moved in. Talk me through that. I mean, and if you can talk about it too, like the current setup, do you pay a lease? I mean, how it works and stuff like that.
So for me, I have a lot of guards up in terms of like moving forward with this space, because again, I reminded Jess that, okay, my current goals right now are to be able to go to work, provide, and, you know, enjoy my time at home and not have to worry, you know, about anyone else outside of our home right now, because I want to focus on us, you know? And she's like, yeah, 100%. And past the gym, she still wanted to do her personal training. You know, she wanted to train, and, you know, and she said that, you know, with this opportunity in this space, you know, she would be able to do that and then some, because the owner of the facility was offering for us to pick up and put down there. And we wouldn't have to worry about operations, because we were at the time at our old spot, we were owner operating, right? But he said that we can drop in. They have their own staffing, and if they needed more staffing, they would get more staffing. That everything that had to do with facility, he was taking care of. This was a passion project for him. He already knew that, you know, it wasn't going to make a ton of money, because I made it really clear from the first meeting that, you know, I'm not looking to, you know, make this is not my main source of income. So if it only makes you would have to understand or be okay that if we were to do this, I'm going to slow grow it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to.
So now your members walk in, and they walk into a conglomerate of facility, and then they go down and they train at Warcat.
Yep.
And that's pretty cool. And so then his staff, I mean, it gets cleaned by his staff. I mean, it gets handled, like all that stuff is his staff. You don't really have your own people if you don't need them.
Yeah. I mean, we put into place facilitators. So in exchange for like some free membership, and then we have some people that are kind of there on the ground floor helping to maintain the space, because a lot of people just wanted to keep the gym going. You know, and so it's like, okay, like all hands on deck. Like if we need to like tidy up around here, or like help guide people around the space that are new, then of course, like let's keep it going, you know. And Jess is there all the time because, you know, she's still doing her thing, but I don't have to worry about it. I can put into it as much as I would like to without the kind of pressure of like, oh, I need to make this much in order to, like, you know, keep it alive or whatever.
So what's your structure? Is it rent? Is it like a revenue share?
So it's like a revenue share. Okay. So, you know, we cover about 11 to 12, about 12 for the space. And then everything after that we share like 50-50. Okay. So it's pretty cut dry, very like nothing too like crazy, because again, for him, like, he just wanted to transform the space. This building, and this kind of a passion project for him, because he's a promoter for clubs and like nightclubs downtown. So that's his like, his thing. And so, he's just bringing people together, and he's trying to get, I think, Cycle Bar or something on a different floor. So it's like, I mean, Warcat's a little different from the other gyms that are a little bit more commercialized, but, it's cool in the sense that, like, once we got in there, I mean, the 11 was already cleared, and so anything after that is shared. So, all I really need to do is to make sure that, we're moving forward, things are going good, we're serving our people. And so it's gotten to a place where, okay, I don't have to push for such competitiveness, and then our people don't have to feel like it's a business in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it sounds like it's like the perfect marriage in a sense. Like, you get to keep the dream alive and keep this space for these people that you care so deeply about, but at the same time, you can focus on yourself, focus on your family and your career, while maintaining everything at the same time. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good situation to me.
It's not bad, and when awesome. I look back and have these conversations with you or others, it's like, man, there's a lot of things that, like, throughout this kind of like journey of like, business ownership and stuff, that's like, man, there's a lot to have learned. There is a lot to have learned. And, and because things have changed, have changed so fast, it's like, it's made me realize that, like, yeah, dude, there's nothing set in stone. There is nothing set in stone. You literally can't do whatever you want, but if you wanted to, like, you could work towards like whatever it is that you do want. I think that I thought that entrepreneurship was something that I was closing the door on, but it's like every day that the gym is still alive, I'm like able to like see that I still want to do this,
Yeah, and you're always gonna have the itch. I mean, even if Warcat did close, like, there would be that voice in your head being like, telling you to do more, what's possible. So I think it's probably a good, healthy thing that you still have an outlet to scratch the itch, so you don't go nuts. Well, dude, I really appreciate you sharing your story. I think there's a lot of good lessons here, and your story really paints this picture of, like, again, it's like these ups and downs, things, coming out of nowhere, and possibilities when you didn't think they were possible. And just like the lessons too of, like, being naive and maybe taking on too much risk initially, but then making it work anyway. So I think it's just all really, really powerful stuff. If you could give advice to someone listening to this who wants to open their own gym, what's something you would tell them?
Opening their own gym. I would say that if you are looking to open up your own gym, you really need to know what it is that what are you trying to sell? What are you, like, not just like it's not just equipment. If you're going to sell an open gym space, like, there's got to be more than just the facility. I mean, anyone can, like you said, anyone can open up a gym, anyone can put in equipment, but what are you selling? I mean, it sounds dumb. It sounds like a Mr. Miyagi type thing. But it's real. What are you trying to sell?
Anyone can do a gym. Anyone can open a gym. What makes your gym special? What makes your gym different? You have to find that. You have to find what makes you special. For you, it was the experience. You're selling experience. For me, it was always selling coaching. I think that's great advice, man. Well, hey, dude, I really appreciate you being on here. I appreciate your time. And I think that so many people are going to get so much value out of this.
Well, I'm really looking forward to where this progresses, because I'm telling you, like, this podcast and the stuff that you're trying to do right now, like, if this was out when, I was starting up, this is really helpful stuff. It's good shit.